You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie them to the ground. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at. Be turning back around. You can't stop me. No. You can't stop me. All the blood, sweat, and sacrifice. Oh, I paid the dearest price. Veno, shortcuts here for destiny. I'll take the long way proud. Oh, I know what I've earned, and now it's my turn. Lighting the fuse, let it burn. My time is rising, but you can't bring me down. Can't stop me now. You can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie them to the ground. Can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at. Be turning back around. Can't stop me. Can't stop me now. No, 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 no. You can't stop me now.
What a video. What an introduction. My goodness gracious. It's like a scrapbook of all our shows, Tony Finn and Rob Veno. I do have a couple of those favorites where it's the one where Tony Finn and I are kind of like this with our heads doing the Forrest Gump thing, and Rob's laughing. That is my single favorite. Not to make favorites among anybody, but you know, it doesn't take me long to recognize how lucky I am to be working with you guys on these shows, and grateful for everybody that participates with them, and they're reliable, and it's just it's more than just a lot of fun. I've become a better because of you guys and everybody that's on this show, and I think the chat room experiences the same thing. And we learned yesterday that the only thing I'm better at than effing Tony is that I have more 300 bowling games than him.
Oh,
That's the only thing that I'm better at. Can you believe that?
I think there's plenty more things than that, but that's something because you got to work on something else because you see, once someone sees me bowl, they will say, "Well, that's not saying much, John."
Hey, you can hit a ball 350 yards into the woods and not the fairway, and you can crank up a bowling ball to 400 RPMs.
I can do both. I think.
And you know what? If I have to hit a 7-iron from 155 yards out, and the guys I'm playing with say, "Well, what did you hit?" 7-iron, and they go, "Oh, a 7-iron? I hit 9." Well, how come I'm the only one putting?
good point.
There's no room on the scorecard to explain that you used a 7-iron when everybody else uses wedges. I care less.
I can putt from the sand trap, but I don't want to talk about any golf. I'm short of time, so you need to teach me some things about football game. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Let's get right to it then. That's a good idea. Let me pull up that spreadsheet I did. Now this is a spreadsheet. And this is week 2 of the NFL. And if you look at the top, you have the yellow highlighted as Westgate early line. And that was published when you guys would know, like 2 months ago at least, right? 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago.
Sure.
That was the beginning point. It's kind of like my my personal baseline.
Or are these look-ahead lines? Are these the look-aheads or the games of the year?
This is what was published by the Westgate for every single week.
Okay, it's been quite a while. Yeah.
Right.
They put these up.
2.5 months. Yeah.
Once the schedule is made, once the schedule comes out, they typically once the official schedule, week to week, et cetera, comes out, they typically release these. Yeah. And I don't remember that as you guys might know, but I don't recall the date.
So with this this graphic here, And I'm sorry that it's chopping our heads off, but I don't think there's any other way I can really show it. Well, that's a little bit better. And then I'll change it when you get done. But you can see that the Westgate line 2.5 months ago, for example, 49ers at Eagles. So the team there, the column is visitor and home. And that's exactly what that means. So you have the Eagles +4 and 46. That implies a final score of the 49ers 25-21. Now, the current market says no, the Eagles are a bit better than they were 2.5 months ago, coming off that dominating win at Atlanta. So now the line's 3, and their offense is better than expected in week 1. Only week 1, mind you. You know where I'm going with this, guys, and I definitely know you do. The chat room may not, but you guys do. So now we have a total of 50. So the market adjustment was in favor of the 49ers. Essentially, you're getting a better line if you like the 49ers. So that's what the 1 in red means. And the total went up 4 points, which if you look across the whole card today, there's only one other game, and that's the Chiefs and Ravens that had that kind of reaction of 4 points since that 2.5 months ago line was established. So now, instead of 25-21 score, we're looking at 26.5, 23.5 49ers win. So if you look at all of these, the one game I want to highlight the most is the Broncos and the Jaguars and the Patriots and the Jets. So here, that's actually a wrong number there on the 9. That actually should be a minus. It should be a 6, so that the Jets became an increased dog of 3 points. So I believe the Patriots are a what is the line of the Patriots? That might be an error that I
4.
transferred over.
Yeah,
4. So that
have a 4.
Yeah, strike a line through that because that's not correct. It should be in red 1, not 9, and column 6, which is the total adjustment, since the market adjustment would be Patriots Jets was 42.5. Now it's 42. So that's right. That's down a half. So the total's right. It's just that the line is wrong on that spreadsheet. So I'll get that corrected. But let's take a look at the Broncos and the Jaguars. So the Broncos are the visitor. They're playing at the Jaguars. 2.5 months ago, the Jaguars were only a 1.5 point underdog. But after 1 week of action and 2.5 months, but mainly the recency bias from last week, we now have the Jaguars as 6-point underdogs and a total of 45.5, which is 2 points higher than it was at the beginning. So our baseline helps us adjust. So now it's saying that the Jaguars are worse than we thought they'd be 2.5 months ago. And in this particular matchup, the Broncos are a bit better, and the total is 2 points higher than it was a couple of months ago. So when you look at a game like this, I want to start with Rob Veno first, and then F and Tony. The numbers of -4.5 and 2 that you see in red, especially the -4.5. Is it the Broncos better by 4.5 points than 2.5 months ago, or is it the Jaguars are worse, or is it possibly a combination of the two?
Well, John, it's probably a fade of the Jaguars more than a love affair with the Broncos, especially since Jerry Jeudy got hurt last week, so they're down one of their best offensive weapons. But I mean, where those early numbers way back when 3 months ago are concerned, I think it's as important to note that the changes that you showed there were not made by the odds makers on Sunday. All the openers, the places that opened the earliest, had lines very similar to what you're showing there. I mean, the Eagles total was only 46.5. This is all, these games were hit immediately off of the openers. So the movement that's indicated there in red is by syndicate groups. It's not by public or sentiment or any of that other stuff. It's by sharp guys with a bunch of money that thought they had real good edges on Sunday night to push these things. It takes less money to move it off the opener in a lot of these shops that open up the quickest. But those numbers were all real comparable. I mean, the Broncos weren't 6 when they opened at 3, which is fairly close to 1.5. I mean, the gap between 1.5 and 6 would make it seem like, 3 months ago, these teams were rated entirely differently by the odds makers. It's really the sharp money that came quickest that's made all these, at least the ones that are being pointed out here, that's made these moves. So whether you agree with the syndicate groups or not, I guess is your biggest question here. Whether you believe in what they hit hard. But I don't think that none of that is really public money because those things shot right away. So I don't know. I think that
like in week 1, I wish I would have actually printed that out too. How am I trying to say the changes in week 1 were the syndicates. I agree 100% in the beginning, but then there's that preseason bias. Then all of a sudden, then the public starts coming in, and in this particular case, in week 2, the line is now 6 with Jaguars. That's what the odds makers now are adjusting everything. So the syndicate's already in for this game, and now they're adjusting because Jaguars really didn't play well at all last week. Trevor Lawrence, I thought, did play well, but the rest of the team did not. And the Broncos came away with a win. So now you have that recency bias weighing on the market, and the odds makers have to pick that number because ultimately they don't care who wins the game. They just want to have that equal action. And a perfect number for a book, as you guys know, is one that doesn't move the whole week. If you can get a number at 4.5 and it stays 4.5 the whole week, the books are happy as. I mean, that's like an early Christmas present for them.
Well, as long as they're not lopsided.
Right, but if it stays static,
I think that's the point. These numbers haven't moved in 3 days. I mean, this
and I will say
was
this:
the same on Monday as it is today on Thursday. So it's not like the public came in.
Right. I'll say this: I'm looking right now. I'm sorry, Rob. Penny, for instance, on this Denver-Jacksonville game, Penny opened this at 6.5, and it's down to 6 now. So, in truth, Jacksonville's catching money at Penny.
And Penny opened later than a lot of other shops.
They don't open up. They don't do overnights or open up early at all. They make their, and typically they don't piggyback.
That's what I wanted to hear from you guys. That's exactly where I would have answered my own question. That now the market has had the recency bias and it's overshot. The public is throwing Jacksonville out the window with the bathwater, and Denver, boy, they won, and they actually might be a better team than we thought. I'm talking about the public.
No.
So who are they going to bet
The public
on?
hasn't even bet yet on Thursday.
No, they haven't.
I think you have to throw the public in the garbage. That's got nothing to do with the line move because the $20 and $50 bettors that we refer to as public they don't bet 7 days in advance, 6 days, 5 days. They bet day.
No, not so much that it would steam. I mean, there are guys who have already thrown in and they've done this or that, and for many of them, they are guys that will change their mind. They come back and play over the top of it. Right. They just until it kicks off. If you're the bookmaker, you never know what you're going to get. But in this case, Jacksonville. I mean, it opened 6.5. But let's just say this: the opening at 6.5 was plus 101. And 2 minutes and 30 seconds after they opened, they adjusted to -6, minus 105. So it's a penny for penny. That's not even a really a big move. I mean, it's a couple cents.
Right.
So that's all that is, and that may just be an adjustment. Or if somebody came in with, like Rob said, with one play or one bet on Jacksonville, and they moved it 2 cents essentially. If you go from in truth, it's not even plus 101 at Penny. They have 5 cent lines, don't they? 10, isn't it, for them? They used to have 8 cents, but I think they're 5 cents now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. For most games, you're right.
Yeah.
Now, Are there? Yeah, I'm coming from the novice standpoint here. With these early lines, is there a limit that these books will take, or does
Yes,
Heritage and Penny
absolutely.
not care and they'll just take
Well,
whatever?
not Penny. Penny doesn't open up early, but for the most part, Bookmaker, and Bookmakers is morphed from being, 10 years ago they were a public, they were a square book. In my opinion, you could get some sharp. There would be some sharp action, but it required a large deposit, and they would reduce the juice for you a little bit. And it was, believe it or not, is a completely separate page, or essentially, they. Like that many books do now. People don't talk about it much, but you're profiled. If you're a guy that's going to be betting 400 or 500 a game just because of your wherewithal, and you've played 25 straight favorites, better believe that you're going to be profiled. And all of a sudden, your buddy's going to get a half point better than you on the favorite, and the two of you, unless you talk about when you played it, you may never know.
Now, as you guys know, in Las Vegas, Chris, too, I have developed that app that attempts to predict the top 5 most popular picks in the Super and the Circa, and
Yeah.
really all the contests, right? So Denver is expected to be among those top 5 this coming week. And
I didn't have them. I make a top 5 too, but I did hear Chris talking that's a possibility to be in there too. What was your top 5? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't have all top 5 run yet,
Okay.
but Denver is definitely. If I had to guess, it would be either first or second. That's why I wanted to mention it on the show.
Okay. I have New England as being the top. It's going to be the most popular play, in my opinion. It will. It just, from what happened last week. And the fact is, if you look at if you're going to do a box score handicap and never watch any of the tape, and you look at the box score and you determine a final score by the box score, then you're going to find that the Patriots were the better team. They just didn't win. They were the better team from start to finish.
Very similar box score in comparison to the Ohio State-Oregon game, too. Except the numbers are different. But Ohio State,
Well, yeah.
if you look at that box score, you'd say Ohio State won by at least 10. I agree.
I mean, and yeah, you would think so too. Until I saw turnovers, until I saw 4 to none. So I give that some weight. And 3 of their turnovers were on downs in plus territory. 1 was inside the 10-yard line.
I can tell you this, guys. Of that top 5, I can name 2 more. The Saints will be among that top 5 list, I think.
I think so too.
I
think Pittsburgh will.
and the
Nobody agrees with me, but
Buffalo
I think
Bills.
Probably so.
But I'll publish the top 5 tomorrow, being it's Friday.
I can tell you, I think the Rams will be at that number over Indy.
Yep. And to tell you the truth, I can honestly tell you I like Indy, and I don't know if I'm gonna. It's gonna be a premium pick. I don't know if I'm gonna enter into the Circa, but we'll have to wait and see. A little bit more. When you have multiple things to enter, not just on Sports Memo or WagerTalk, but then you have to enter in the portal on Circa to the proxy. Adding those 2 extra picks when you're used to giving out 2 or 3 a week
it's
is
why I don't play them
monumental.
anymore. It's why I don't play them anymore. I don't do it anymore. I used to do it, and although I'm talking about the Circa and the Super, because 5 plays is too many for me. It's just too many.
Well, I'm glad we had this chance to glance at that stuff. I
I
just
like
wanted
that.
to throw it out there.
No, I like it.
Now, tomorrow, I have another app that I think I humbly say you will be impressed with because it takes the next-gen stats. So essentially, I have every single play that was ever run in a database in the history of the NFL going back to 2000. So with the power of Python, I can teach it and show the app a picture of a cat. And it will know, and what kind of animal is this? It's a cat. I can show it a dog or a cow, and it'll tell me that is not a cat. And then you had to take it one step further. You have to tell it that, okay, well, this is what a cow looks like now. And then you show a dog, and then it'll say, well, that's not a cat or a dog. You follow what I'm saying? And then you get into these massive.
Shut up and listen.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how you teach a dog new tricks.
Yeah. Well,
so what this will show us is the
young dog.
What I think is a great tool to identify the best corners, man coverage, and it's in all different kinds of coverages, different packages. Whatever the setup is pre-snap is documented, and then it measures the actual distance that a receiver gets from a defender, and then most importantly to me at least, the closing speed of that defender. Single cut routes, double cuts, the up and go, whether the quarterback was shotgun, all the different combinations are there. But I think it does reveal like who is playing really, really well on defense, and also what wide receivers are getting separation consistently. Especially when you have these one-on-one matchups with the best wide receiver in the team against the best corner on the team. I think that could be pretty helpful, with the matchup analysis that we do. It's not just doing trends and systems and that kind of stuff, although they help me. But I think this tool will be fun to look at, if nothing else.
People use those next gens. They use those. What you just outlined.
It's unlimited. It's only limited to your creativity.
I don't use the unless I'm doing a prop or something like that. Typically, everything it's always going to be different from week to week. In my orbit, it's different because of it's not mission. It's not concrete. It's not set in stone that this corner is going to be able to cover this receiver like the last corner that covers the receiver, because teams run different schemes, and one team may run the ball better, which creates more separation. There's so many different variables that alter that.
That's the stuff we can talk about. I
can't. We don't have time to cover all the little variables. I mean, at some point you have to kind of generalize that and know some history. Although, listen, some of the biggest weight I carry from week to week and into games are some of those next gens, and but they're more about the backfield, the offensive backfield, than they are in the defensive secondary. So, what happens there?
I'll have to think about running one for that.
Well, I mean, quarterback pressures are there's quarterbacks. I mean, we can use those. It's pretty gray. It's pretty black and white. Some quarterbacks are just better than other quarterbacks under pressure or outside the pocket. Listen, you can put all the pressure you want on Mahomes, but you really don't want to. You want to put pressure on, but you got to keep him in the pocket, because guess what? Pat's better outside the pocket. He's better moving. His numbers are better.
So is Herbert.
Hey, Bear?
Yeah, I call him Herbert. I just wanted to see if you're listening to me at this point.
What?
I just wanted to see if you're listening to me at this point. Huh?
No.
I just, numbers fascinate me. And then,
listen, John, whatever works. Here's what I always say. Whatever works for you. And if it's working, don't listen. I don't listen. Listen, well, I'm hard-headed. I don't listen.
This is brand new. I don't know if it's going to bring any intelligence for us or not. I really don't. But I want to have you guys take a look at it and see, so that if we do have a matchup where we have a team that, let's say, the tools ranked number one in defensive coverage, in man or zone. That's too much. I say we have the number one defense cornerbacks and safety in man coverage, and we're going up against a team that just does not have the weapons on the outside, and they are, to your point, like you said, a running team, slot receivers against weaker linebackers. Maybe the linebackers aren't such great cover guys.
Well, they have to be now. And mesh schemes are so popular that unless your linebackers have the ability to at least stand in front or disrupt a receiver's timing on underneath crossing routes, you're going to be crushed in this day and age of NFL video football. And that is the mesh system goes all the way back to Oklahoma and the Harris, who's the OC for Ryan at Ohio State, back there with all those Oklahoma with the Stoops and the tree from Snyder, and that basically, that you call it what you want. Air raid is really what it was then, and still called that in many schemes. But that mesh system is basically it's speed. It's speed is the key, and linebackers, it's tough. That's why we have total. That's why in the last 3 years, look at our totals, man. They basically are picking on linebackers. A linebacker can't cover Ty Hill, and Ty Hill's a different from Ruggs, who Baltimore was really disappointing, and I think Rob will agree, because Rob was on the under, and I'm on Baltimore in that game. We both end up losing that game. His total looked really good in the first 15 minutes, and then stuff started happening. But Ruggs doesn't know when to sit down he doesn't know how to sit down in his zone and stretch it or go fly in man-to-man, where that's not the case with Ty. Ty Hill runs good routes. He runs his routes at almost top speed, and he knows how to attack a defense, where Ruggs has still got a lot to learn. Ty Hill's plus he's learning under Andy Reid and Bieniemy and those guys, and Andy Reid's always been a pretty good offensive mind. I mean, he just has. So, man, there's so many. We don't have what you're doing is good, and especially if you like numbers. Those are the kind of things I like too. However, I have to throw stuff to the side on a week, and that's why a lot of times someone asks me, "Well, do you like this game?" I didn't look at that game. What do you mean you didn't look at that game? Well, there's certain things that make me look at a game and not look at a game. I can't look at 100 college football games, and I just can't. Especially when we start having, as Rob, NBA, college basketball, NHL, college football, and these guys that do all these sports, I applaud them, because I limit myself to 5 sports, and I have a hard enough time getting my work done, working 18/7 right now.
Anything to add, Rob?
It could be me. Could be my problem, but.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Tony says as somebody who handicaps that way, John, fundamental matchups and situationally. I don't know. Again, you do have to know who's matched up against who. It's important to know the injury list. I don't know what solely week one's worth of results could possibly tell us at this point in time. It's still all objectivity, personal opinion as to who's good and who's bad. We really don't know the answers to that. We might think we know them. And when it turns out that we do know them, we kind of applaud ourselves and pat ourselves on the back. And, I told you that team was good and whatnot. But what Tony was trying to say, I think, and two things he was trying to say. Number one, there are way too many variables other than this guy got separation this week against this guy, and this corner couldn't handle this guy, because, again, week to week, different sets of corners, different sets of schemes, odd man fronts, even man fronts, 8 guys dropping, only 6 guys. There's a lot that goes into pass coverage, and aside from that, the coaching staff has the film of what just went on, so they're going to make, if we can see it, they can see it as well. They'll try and make some adjustments. Difference in receivers. He was trying to compare Henry Ruggs and Tyreek Hill and basically give you the reason why they're different receivers. You can go to one team and one team specifically and find the difference in receivers immediately, and that's the Seahawks. Tyler Lockett is a football player. Tyler Lockett has football smarts between the ears like no other. Ever since he was at Kansas State. That guy is a gem of a wide receiver. DK Metcalf is a great wide receiver who gets by on athletic talent and has a long way to go to learn the nuances of the game that Tyler Lockett knows. Tony was referring to when you're running through a zone coverage, when to sit so that, the quarterback doesn't lead you into a helmet-to-helmet blast. Which direction to make that quick cut so he can lead you and you can get yards after the catch. All that stuff, that on-the-field football sense stuff, Tyler Lockett has it all. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's a fantastic receiver. I would take him any day. You see him every week on the highlight packages. And DK Metcalf, other qualities, right? He's a great perimeter blocker. There's no
He's
ground
a big guy
game.
too.
There's no
He's huge.
slip screens don't work if your receivers don't block for you. All that type of stuff. So I think that kind of further emphasizes the point Tony was making, that receivers are different. They're not all the same. Two guys can run a 4-2 and be entirely different. One guy can be extremely fast and big, and the other guy can be small and not as fast, and the small, not as fast guy could be better. We've seen it forever, right? I mean, generally you see it in slot receivers.
Edelman,
the
sure.
best smarts running through zones and the most courage. But yeah, there's so many. Like you said, the variables are like the galaxy. It's limitless, and we can point out a bunch of stuff in a single week matchup. But everything we point out this week that may work and we may cash tickets, probably we go back and point out different stuff about the same teams the following week. So to know it is good. I try to know it, John, as much as I can. Who can cover, who can set, who can do this, who can do that. But it's the application of it and the variables inside that application that you really have to be good at, because Tony used the best word, concrete. It's not concrete. It's such a fluid thing, sports betting and matchup handicapping, that, when he said to each his own, it's a reason why they call this the inexact science, the most inexact science, right? Because there's 9 billion different ways to go about this.
And win.
Including not knowing a damn thing and still winning.
Yep.
Some people can do that too.
Some people are all numbers guys.
Yeah. I mean, I know guys that used to handicap on biorhythms. Are you kidding me?
That's right.
Biorhythms?
Yeah, some people have handicap on steam alone, and that's
dangerous.
It's another story.
Yeah.
It's another story.
I would go opposite
time,
to it. I would be contrarian
would,
as hell in steam moves.
Tone, real quick, I wanted to ask you a quick question because I'm not in town anymore.
Yeah.
But this is getting back to when John said, from a novice standpoint, does it not take a lot of money to move these numbers right off the opener? And now when I was in town, the Stardust was always first, right? They'd have a line of 100. And you draw numbers, and if you're lucky enough to draw that number one, you get the window first. But it was limited. You could bang a team for, I think, a dime, and however many teams you wanted. But then they would adjust the point spread, and you'd have to go to the back of the line. And the next guy would step up, and he has to bet into what you just changed on the board. In other words, to make it real simple, these odds makers throw numbers up there, but they really rely on the sharps, the immediate big money bettors, to set the line for them to where it doesn't move drastically anymore. Now, the Circa is in town, and, every indication I get is they're trying to become that type of big dog in the big ocean. But do they operate that way? I mean, is there a lottery-type system on Sunday night at the Circa? Do they... their numbers are up extremely quick, but I don't know what they're taking for a opening bet, if it's 500 or 15. I have no clue.
Well, let me tell you this. As of in the last 10 years, I'll tell you right now that for a long time, when I was working back here, when I was in the early 90s, okay, when the internet wasn't even real prevalent, we still used I worked for a company that had some 900 lines that they had obviously leased from Feist, and I had one of the lines, and I spent 5 days a week out here. And the biggest, really, if you walk up to a sportsbook counter at that time, I'm gonna guess it's more than that. It was 20 years ago. I guess it would be early 90s, be 20 years ago. The Mirage would take five large, and that's the biggest play you could get down. So, and today it's even less than it's. Listen, if you know the book manager, if you know the sportsbook manager, there's guys. I had a client who had a 100K limit at the Hilton at that time, and the Hilton was really the one place that would take that kind of. Of course, they wouldn't just take it from any old Joe. They paid attention to runners back then, especially because they didn't have technology was different then. So
yeah, they wouldn't take 100K off the opener though. I mean, this
no.
goes
And
back
here's
to
the deal:
is the Circa taking money off openers, or are they taking a nickel? I mean, I don't know what
they're not taking. Listen, here's the deal with openers. By the time Penny opens up, Penny's taking 20K. 20K is typically online. $20,000 is what you can play. Now they don't limit you to 20. What they do is once you play the 20, they have the option to move the number or not move the number. So I'll tell you this much: in the biggest wager I've ever made was almost 500,000, and about 300 of it was played at Penny, and I did it on my laptop, and it took me a while. I can only do 20 at a time, and it was on a baseball game. It was the Boston Red Sox in Game 3 of a series. They opened at about 160, and by the time I had played that 300K at Penny, I'd moved it about 20 cents. They moved it. That's about what it moved.
It's amazing. So, it's a great story.
And I'll tell and Boston won, by the way.
Well, I guess you're pretty happy.
I was making that bet for a client, and it was a system he played. I executed the system for him. Listen, he was up about 4 million heading into September, and I strongly advised him to dump the system. At this point in time, dump it, because the system didn't, in my opinion, didn't fit September rosters and September behaviors. And he lost all 4 million back in September. But it was fun. It was fun.
It's that old saying, having something and losing it is worse than never having it.
Well, you need to lose it. You need to lose it once so you can appreciate having it.
You learn from it. You learn from it.
You hope so. I mean, you've heard my story. I've got to put my hand on that burner 5 times before I understand it's hot. I gotta do stupid. I gotta do at least 5 times before I learn. So, but
it all up.
But Rob, openers are different. Also, those guys also. Your handle is football, college Saturdays, NFL Sundays, and everything's different as far as what it takes to move it. It takes a lot less to move a Sun Belt than it does to move a Big Ten number.
Yep.
And that has to do with a handle.
Let's face it.
And speaking of Big Ten,
definition, real quick, the definition of taking large amounts of money on a wager for bookmakers is their confidence in their number. These things that we're talking about, they're not confident in their openers. Otherwise, they would take 10K.
Yes.
They want the sharp guys to set the number for them. They'll throw it up there. You move it, and then that way, now we're good. Now we know where the numbers should be. Now we're going to get action both ways. So I guess, John, real quick to tie up what you started with this slide, real quick, because you started pointing out extreme different lines from back in May or June, whenever, to now, and off of the openers on Sunday and to where they are now. The places that open the earliest take, in Italian we say ugazz, but they don't take much, right? Bet Online, DraftKings, these places that open real early, they're not taking any money.
No, a nickel to a dime.
Yeah, so those line moves they may be huge in, when you look at it, oh my God, 1.5 to 6, oh my God. But, when nothing's moving that, just very, very little, they're just trying to get to the right number at that point. So I don't know how much weight we can put into that.
Listen, there's variables in that too, Rob. You know that. I mean, listen, if a game gets to, I've mentioned many times, if the game opens at 2 and that game goes to 2.5 and then to 3 by Monday night, if that 3 isn't gobbled up and it just jumps back to 2.5, then it's telling to me. Now, it's not definitive, it's not concrete, but if it doesn't go back to 2.5, that means the sharps aren't interested.
Well, and it's why it takes a long time in this business to be able to, and I'm not even going to say accurately, because
Yeah.
none of us are sitting next to Billy Walters, so we don't know, right? We're not sitting in with the kosher
Not
boys.
today.
We don't know.
Not today.
But it takes a long time to learn how to semi-accurately read line movements and know where they're going to go, when you should react. And for guys just breaking into this, it's hard. Tony, John, you got places to go, and I'm getting long-winded here. But
And
I
guess
just
what?
want to go back to real quick what Tony said originally, because a guy taught me this a long time ago. I came to Las Vegas in 1991, and I thought I knew a lot. Actually, I did know a lot about teams. I just wasn't that great. I bet, but I wasn't a great bettor. Wasn't sophisticated bettor at that point in time. And people will go up and down that list of line moves from Sunday to Monday. And then they'll just tail line moves because they think somebody knows more than I do. And I'm going to bet that way, too, because every sharp guy in the world is on that. So I'm on it, too. I'm sharp now. Except for the fact that, especially in football season, college basketball season, I think those two are really college football, college basketball is where I found it the most. You have a huge card, right, on a Saturday in NBA in college basketball and for college football. 20 line moves of 2.5 points or more. You follow them all, you're 10-10. Plain and simple, you're 10-10. Because these guys it's either real or it's false. There's a such thing as false line moves. Where Tony just said, they're going to push a game that they want to get a better price on. They're going to push it knowing that the people coming behind them with money are going to say, oh, my God, I got to get on that too. And all of a sudden, they've taken a line from 4 all the way to 6.5, and now they're coming back the other way on Saturday morning. And
with more money.
You're stuck with more money, correct. They may bet $200K to start with, and then they're coming back with $500K on return.
Right.
And you, the $50 bettor who thought you were sharp, you're stuck with your thumb up your ass because you got the wrong side, because you thought line moves were the way to go. So
you were late to get. You're right, Rob. You were late to get in the game because you're tailing somebody, and then after it comes back, you may not even be able to get off of it without having a Polish middle or a Russian middle.
And they depend on it. The sharps depend on you to come and just blindly follow their moves.
Same thing happens in Bitcoin and the S&P 500.
It happens in every
market. I'll talk about
right?
that tomorrow.
Yeah. It's all a guessing game. The big money has control of it, and they want you to, they're going to manipulate you and the line and however it goes. So you need to be a little bit educated.
I always remember my favorite saying,
a runner was a big help, Tone. And knowing a runner was a big help. And as you say, in the day of beepers and the Hilton.
Same thing on the New York Stock Exchange.
I won't even get into the Hilton. But
we'll save it for tomorrow.
Sometime we'll have story hour.
Yeah.
I always remember my favorite saying that applies to sports betting: bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered.
There you go.
That's what you have to remember. So let's move to best bets here. I'm going to rush you guys for the first time because I have a birthday dinner to attend for a daughter and her boyfriend, whose birthday was 2 days ago, and who both graduated from Penn State, and Tony Finn are attending the whiteout, which Ralph Michaels.
We're going to wear black.
Where Ralph Michaels said that Penn State has the best home field advantage of 6.5 points when Penn State is a whiteout and playing at night. I rest my case. If Ralph
Michaels said it and it was on the internet, it must be concrete.
Well, there's a lot of concrete in that stadium, I'll tell you that. But anyway, let's start with Tony Finn here. Let's see if we can do 3 picks in a minute.
What time does that Penn State game start?
7:30.
Okay, I'm wearing black.
Well, you can, but you won't be there.
I'm putting my Johnny Cash outfit on right now.
A lot of people have. The game went down to 5.5.
I'm all over it. I'll tell you right now, I'm all over it. I cannot make a case that Auburn. Let's save it for tomorrow. We'll talk about the Penn State Auburn game tomorrow. Manny's Club will do.
What do we have?
That's now, and we'll get out of here.
Remember this too. Your survivor picks. Did you write those down? And did you?
Yeah, Tony Mejia and I were talking about it, so we'll refresh that tomorrow. Okay. I know he and I are out, but we'll figure it out tomorrow.
Okay,
I am
very
written
good.
down.
That's right. We'll give you. Listen, you can pay us both. You can pay me $500. Mejia can pay Rob $500. You guys can get back in.
All right, it's fair. I thought you'd say 1,000.
Back in.
No, you're
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah, reload.
Yeah. Since he hit that plus 1,100, he's a nicer guy, John.
What am I
he's
going to do with
gonna-
that $11? What am I going to do with that $11?
Yeah, you just got done talking about a $300,000 bet. So I think you probably had more than 10.
460 something is what it was actually. But
Yeah,
but
see?
that wasn't. Dude, I only collected. I get a percentage of that for executing it, which I'm still waiting to get paid. Been a couple years. Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
All right,
Rush
so
the Russians.
30 seconds each, and then I got to get out of here. Otherwise, I'm going to be not in good graces at all.
We don't want that.
But Tony Finn, who's your best bet for
Win.
tonight? And I
For
will-
tonight. Okay, for tonight. Let's say what I'm going to play tonight.
Oh, we were
I'm gonna
3-3 yesterday, by the way. We're 62.3% last 32 shows.
Okay. What do we have yesterday?
And that's 99 picks, by the way.
Oh, I had Cleveland. I had Quantrill yesterday. That's right.
Yep.
Okay. Tonight, let's stay on the base. Let's stay on the diamonds. I'm not interested in tonight's Thursday night football game, not the NFL game. Not interested in any of the three. So we'll stay with the diamond. And I really like this card, albeit limited. It's a limited card because we had a lot of day games, right? But there's one game I particularly like, and that's the umpire is a good fit in Baltimore. Again, listen, last night I played New York -1.5 and on the money line. I break even, but New York, that was a great setup for them. Means hasn't been very good, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, in this situation tonight, and I don't think it's – oh, never mind. Its game's just started too. I forgot. It was a 2:05 game. So we got to move on to my next game. All right? We're going to go Houston and Texas. Garcia against Otto. Otto is who?
Glenn Otto.
Glenn Otto. Yeah, it's not. He's not the center for the old center for the
Jim Otto.
Oakland. He's not. Yeah, the Oakland Raiders. No.
So who do you like? So I could write it down and I'll go to Rob Veno.
Houston -2 even money. Not 1.5. -2. -105.
Sorry to rush you.
Don't be
Important
sorry.
dinner tonight. Rob
Yeah,
Veno, who do you
You
like?
can't bother me.
He's Russian. He can rush.
Yeah.
It is Russian.
Yeah, real quick. I'll go way off the grid here to this FCS game that's being played tonight because I follow a lot of FCS here.
Raging Cajuns.
Alabama A&M against
Ooh.
Bethune-Cookman.
That's right.
FCS board tonight. There's a quarterback for Alabama A&M. Made me a lot of money last year. Kid's name is Akil Glass. He's an NFL draft pick for sure. I'm not positive first round, but he's going to be in the NFL. Big kid, throws the ball very well. It's a very fast, up-tempo team. Bethune-Cookman's been miserable against the pass all season long. They played FCS opponents. Give them credit. They played Central Florida, got run out of the building, but they played Central Florida.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a track meet up and down. So very quickly, I will leave the listeners or viewers with over 69.5 in the Bethune-Cookman Alabama A&M game. Probably finds its way somewhere in the 74 range when all is said and done. So we're going to go with that tonight.
There you go.
And simply said, I'm going to be very short and sweet
Phillies.
because birthday dinners for daughters is more important than putting out a 5%er.
It's more important than anything.
Yes, even more important than Manny himself.
It's more important than giving one out. So get it
Right.
done and get out of here.
Ben Simmons.
So Ben Simmons under Baltimore, New York Yankees. I like that
Nice.
play a lot.
Nice.
So that's what we're going to go with. We'll see if we can go 3-0, guys. So thanks for your time. We'll start tomorrow at 4:05. If that works for you, send me a Slack.
Bring your booze.
And we'll do some partying tomorrow. And we'll talk about Penn State, Ben Simmons, and PGA Tour golf. No, just kidding. We'll talk about Penn State. We'll talk about Penn State. So on behalf of Rob Veno, F in Tony, John Ryan Sports 1, sportsmemo.com, WagerTalk.com, and these fantastic educational prediction playbook shows. May all the wins be yours tonight.